The Old Man and the Sea, Part 16. Água mala, the man said, you whore. From where he swung lightly against his horse, he looked down into the water and saw the tiny fish that were colored like the trailing filaments and swam between them and under the small shade the bubble made as it drifted. Okay, so he was swinging, right? So he swung lightly against the oars. So remember, we are looking now at the Portuguese man of war, right? And there are many fish there who are immune to the poison, and they can swim around the filaments, okay? They were immune to its poison, but men were not, and when some of the filaments would catch on a line and rest there slimy, there is that toy, for kids, like a Play-Doh, but really sticky, so slimy is the consistency. So, but men were not, and when some of the filaments would catch on a line and rest there slimy and purple, while the old man was working a fish, he would have welts and sore on his arms and hands of the sort that poison ivy or poison oak can give. Poison ivy and poison oak are those kinds of plant you cannot touch, because if you touch, you get a rash, right? And you can also get welt. So let's imagine, you are here in front of me, and I get like, I stick a rod. Do I have a rod? I don't have a rod. Okay, so a ruler will do, okay? So I get a ruler, and then I hit your arm with all of my strength. There will be a little, a little swollen part here. That would be a welt. Even better if this thing was much thinner, and then, I would like, and you would get a welt on your arm. So keep in mind that if you touch certain kinds of plants, poison ivy or poison oak, they will give you sore and welts, okay? And of course, the Portuguese man of war does the same thing as many jellyfish, right? But this poisoning from the água mala came quickly and struck like a whiplash, okay? Remember whip, if I have a slave, I have a whip and I hit my slaves with my whip, all right? And of course, it's even better to say that I'm whipping. Better, okay, you got it, right? Better phonetic, grammatically and semantically speaking. I'm not saying that you have to get a slave, okay? Don't, Jesus Christ, don't get offended for anything. But, so if I have a whip, okay, I'll give you the example of a horse, So I will whip the horse with all of my strength. Okay, I know that some other of you guys now are offended because I'm hitting a horse. It's a hypothetical situation. So I can whip, I can lash, my horse. So that kind of poison is like a whiplash. By the way, there's a very nice movie about a drummer called Whiplash, all right? Okay, that's not the point, but I think it's an incredible movie, okay? A total digression here. So let's continue. The iridescent bubbles were beautiful, but they were the falsest thing in the sea, and the old man loved to see the big sea turtles eating them. The turtles saw them, approached them from the front, shut their eyes so they were completely carapaced, and ate them, filaments and all. Okay? So remember, yes, the old man has a sentimental relation with the ocean. Some animals are fragile, and it's unfair that the ocean is so cruel and so strong. Some other animals are, they're false. Some other animals are cruel, like the Portuguese man of war. Of course, because it hurts him, but mainly because it fools people, right? It's beautiful, but it isn't. It looks beautiful, but it hurts. Carapace is completely covered with like an armor, right? Like the turtles, and ate them, filaments and all. The old man loved to see the turtles eat them, and he loved to walk on them on the beach after a storm and hear them pop when he stepped on them with his horny soles of his feet. Be careful with this word if you're using Google Image, to help you understand the book here, as I told you. Maybe you are going to Google Image horny. You shouldn't Google horny, because horny. Another way to say horny is a very common word, and it's a very informal word, and it means sexually aroused. That's a nice piece of vocabulary for you. Sexually aroused. If you're sexually aroused, you want to have sex. And if you Google horny ladies or horny guys, we won't find beautiful pictures. Well, of course, depends on your taste. So that's the idea of horny. Where does the idea of horny comes from? Originally, it's focused on the men, right? But of course, nowadays, if you remember, he called the Portuguese men of war you whore. If you try to find horny whores, Jesus. So nowadays, let me not get so lost in my digressions. Nowadays, horny can be used for men and women alike. There's no difference whatsoever. Etymologically speaking, the word is focusing on men. Why? Because horny, not this word here, by the way, remember we are inside the digression. Horny, this horny I told you about, comes from horn. Imagine like a bull has horns, and horns are extremely hard, right? So you can establish the connection, right? Extremely hard, you know what I mean? Think about it, the word in Portuguese is also, I don't know, it doesn't follow this exact same logic, but it's initially focused on men as well, and just later in the development of the word, we have it focused on women. Tesão is in Portuguese, right? Tesão. Tesão comes from teso. Teso is another way to say hard, okay? So think about, you could talk about the a tesão de cabo, okay? But then it would be a tesão, right? Well, we're not talking about Portuguese, we're talking about English. And I've just described to you the hugely more common meaning for horny. But here, specifically, having the consistency of a horn, being very hard, like the original meaning, calloused, full of calluses. So it means that the sole of his feet are calloused, they are horny, and that's why he can step on the Portuguese man of war and he doesn't get hurt. He loved green turtles and hawksbills with their elegance and speed and their great value, and he had a friendly contempt for the huge loggerheads, yellow in their armor plating, strange in their love-making, and happily eating the Portuguese men of war with their eyes shut. Hawksbills, loggerheads, are kinds of turtles. They are huge turtles. If I'm not wrong, it is this loggerhead No, the next one, he's going to mention another one that is a trunk back that apparently is the biggest turtle. Friendly contempt. Remember, contempt is a feeling of anger. If you feel contempt for something, you don't like that thing. Okay? But friendly contempt is like he looks down on that turtle, but friendly. Apparently, the turtle is stupid or something like that. He had no mysticism about turtles, although he had gone in turtle boats for many years. He was sorry for them all. Even the great trunkbacks that were as long as the skiff. We don't know if he's exaggerating here. I really would like to take a look at the picture of a turtle like that. The ones I've searched in Google Image were not in proportion. We could just see the turtle in the water, right? But as long as the skiff, that's huge, huge, right? And weighed a ton, 1,000 kilos, a ton. Most people are heartless about turtles because a turtle's heart will beat for hours after he has been cut up and butchered. It's very interesting. I didn't realize it before. Even for the heart of the turtle, the narrator is using he. You know, because when the old man or even the narrator is talking about fish and the turtles and etc. In the sea, of course, instead of using it all the time, he uses he, she, he, and all the time. Because of course he has a close contact with those animals. But even for the heart of the turtle, that's interesting. I don't know. What do you think? If you have any opinion about that, please write on the comments there. So apparently, the heart of a turtle, after you remove it from the turtle, will beat for hours after he has been cut up and butchered. But the old man thought, I have such a heart too, and my feet and hands are like theirs. He ate the white eggs to give himself strength. He ate them all through May to be strong in September and October for the truly big fish. We're talking about the turtle eggs, right? Just one thing, a side note as well, but as we're talking about beating turtles, and feeling sorry for them, it was a habit in those isolated islands. Imagine you have a tribe, you want to feed your tribe and it's very hard to hunt, right? Now imagine there is this huge turtle. It's like food for everybody. And it would be great if you met a huge turtle like that, But of course you have a lot of work trying to hit it, because it has protection, etc. So something that was very common in those islands, and of course some places are still common, they would overturn the turtle. So keep in mind, depending on the turtle, if the turtle has its back on the floor, it can't move, right? And they would build a fire around it, under the shell of the turtle, so they would cook the turtle alive. This is something that really impressed me, and I wanted to share it with you. Okay, that's not the point. The point is that he ate the eggs of the turtles to be strong for the truly big fish in September and October. He also drank a cup of shark liver oil each day from the big drum. Drum here is not the instrument. Drum is like a barrel. From the big drum in the shack where many of the fishermen kept their gear. It was there for all fishermen who wanted it. Most fishermen hated the taste, but it was no worse than getting up at the hours that they rose, and it was very good against all colds and grips, and it was good for the eyes. First, there is this very nice image, apparently shark liver oil. First of all, it seems that it's not an expensive thing, right? So there is this shack, this place where all fishermen keep their gear, and apparently every time you caught a shark, you would go there and put the oil from the liver, right? And it was there. It's like this huge barrel. You can go there, you can dip your cup, and you can drink it up, and so it gives people strength. And of course the taste must be horrible, right? But it's horrible to wake up as well. No, I wouldn't say horrible. It's difficult as well, and it's what must be done, So we are talking about people who do what they have to do. Period. Life is not much more complicated than that. People grip. You have their grips. Is just an older way of saying flu. The flu. Okay. We get that if we compare it to Portuguese. In Portuguese we have the word gripe, and then here we have grip.